We're going to be looking at CAD standards this week. CAD standards, when we're talking about CAD standards with AutoCAD, it's referring to our layer definitions, our dimension styles, our text styles, and those settings that need to go through from one drawing to the other. And if they don't sort of follow through from one to the other, when you're using XGraphs and things like that, sometimes the objects get a little bit confused and we don't know what's going on. And with the way we're working at the moment, with a lot of us working from home, our offices are segregated, people are all over the place. We're probably working on projects. And when we're working on projects, we've got multiple people working on them. And we've got the issue of bringing those drawings all back in together. And that's where our CAD standards can come in and help you out. We can create CAD standards. So we're drawing objects and we're ensuring that those objects go onto the correct layer and they have the correct definition for that layer. If we're creating text, it ensures that we're using the correct text style. If the user has used the incorrect text style and we've applied the CAD standard file to the drawing, we've actually got the ability of opening up the drawing and being able to modify the settings in the drawing, modifying your layer names, your colors, all that sort of stuff in an active drawing to conform with your CAD standards, which are possibly based on your company standards or whoever you're delivering the product to. So you might be drawing in your office using a certain style of drawing with layers and things like that. Finding it too hard to adopt to your customer's layer technology or layer settings and things, you can actually set up a drawing standards file and be able to transfer your layer names into the customer's layer names. So you can just continue working as you are at the moment, but just running it through this CAD standards at the end, and you'll be able to convert those files into the same format as what is expected to be submitted to whoever that may be. So we've had a look. We've got multiple users that are drafting. We can bring it all in together. We stick to the drafting standards as close to possible, but sometimes we misspell a word. We create a layer and we've transposed the character or something like that. With the CAD standards, it can kick in and tell you that you've used an incorrect layer name. You do have the option to be able to accept that entry that you're creating, but it depends on your requirements. And we'll be looking at those requirements as we go through. So what we're going to do, the outcomes today, or what we're going to be doing, we're going to actually open an AutoCAD drawing, and I'm going to make that into a CAD standards file. So we'll be showing you how to create a drawing standards file, or DWS file, or as AutoCAD refers to it, as a CAD standards file. We'll apply this standards file to a copy of the drawing that's got some modifications in it, and then we'll see what will happen when we've activated the standards in the file and what AutoCAD will do to try and rectify those or to ignore those settings. And that brings us on to the next topic there, which is determining the actions to occur when a standard setting is altered. We'll be prompted with messages and things like that. We can turn the messages off, and we can actually run a batch standards on multiple drawings at the same time. And we've also got a layer translator, which will transfer our drawing layers and dimension styles and text styles into a different format if you want. But the easiest way to get into this is actually to get into AutoCAD and get started. And what we're going to have at the end is a consistent drafting standard across all our drawings in our office or all our drawings for a project, whatever it may be. So I'll just close this one. I'm just going to go into AutoCAD, and I have a couple of files in my system. I'm just going to open two of them, or I'll open one. I've got a drawing here. This is my default drawing that has the standards in it. If I bring up my layer manager, I've got my layers in here. I'm going to bring up another drawing that I have created. You'll see that it's the same drawing. I've got a bit of a mess up there with that one. I'll maximize that one, go into the standards here, and I'll bring up the layer manager in here. And you'll see that the layers have an A prefix before them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up our CAD standards and get these drawings to agree with each other. using our CAD standards. Our CAD standards, to access those, we go to the Manage tab on the ribbon. So we click on Manage, and we'll find that we have a column here that has CAD standards. At the top, we have Layer Translator. The Layer Translator will allow you to transfer or to transition one layer format to another layer format. So, it might be the layer names that need to change. It could be the colors of the layers. It could be the line types, any of those sort of settings that refer to the layers in the drawing. Once we've got a layer standards applied to the drawing, we run the check command, and that will check our drawing for our standards. But before we do any of that sort of stuff, our standards need to be configured in our drawing, and we need to have a drawing standards file to work on. So the first task to do is to create a standards file. This, hold on, I'll just check the layers in this one. Say we want this to be our standards, what we want our layers to be when we convert them. So I'm going to make this drawing here into a standards file. And that's the same as what we do with the template. You do a save as on the file, and rather than saving it as a DWG, we save it as a CAD standards drawing. You may be wondering what the difference between a CAD standards drawing and a template may be. Templates basically have all your settings that you need for your drawings, whatever it may be, and you load the template and you have those default settings. Those settings that are in your template can be modified and can be changed unless there is a standards file associated with that template. You can convert a template into a standards file as well, so you could actually use a template and that can be enforcing the standards as you're working. But what we're going to do here, we've got a drawing file. It's just a standard drawing file, a DWG file. What I'm going to do is go to the A, and I'm going to choose Save As. And in here, we have the option of Drawing Standards. So Drawing Standards, create a Drawing Standards DWS file, which can be used to check the standards of a drawing. If we were to type Save As at the command line, we would change the file type down here to DWS, which is AutoCAD Drawing Standards. So you can, either way, create the same file. So basically, it's a drawing file with the extension of DWS on the end. So in my folder here, I now have a file called DWS, or standard.dws. It's the same as standard.dwg. I'm able to open that file. So I'll just open that file now. Okay, it says I've actually got it open now because when I did a save as, it became the current drawing. So this, I can delete every object in this drawing. That's no longer needed. We don't need any of the information because when we're working with drawing standards, we're just looking at the layers, the dimension styles, the text styles, and the multi-leader styles that are in there. So any definition of those things in here, like with our layers, when we're running the standards, the layers will convert to these ones here if we let it do so. If we have a look at the text style in the drawing, in the standards drawing, it should be appearing somewhere on screen. There we go. We've got a style called Arial in here, and we've got a style called Standard. Okay, so we have this, there's a few other settings in there, but we have this DWS file. I'm just going to save that now. I've got nothing in here, I've got everything that I need for my layers and all that sort of stuff in there. So now I'm going to open my drawing that I've been working on, for the last period of time. It doesn't quite have the same layers and things as the other drawing. So I'll just open the standard drawing just so we have both drawings on screen. I'm just going to go to the View panel here, and I'm going to just tile vertically, just so I get the drawings on both sides of the thing, and I'll be able to bring up my layer manager. So we've got one drawing on this side, and this is the equivalent of our standards file, which is what we want this drawing to start looking like. So if I bring up the layer manager here, I click in this side, I've got my layers like this. If I click on this side here, I've got my layers with an A prefix. So we need to, with our standards, these layers in here don't conform with what's in our standards file. We'll also look at the text style in this drawing on the right-hand side. And we've got Reg Arial and we've got standard in there. That looks to be the same. We'll have a look at the style on this side. If I could spell. And we've got the same thing in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to configure this drawing. This is our drawing. We need to configure it to use the standards file that we created earlier. And to do that, I'll just get rid of that. What we do here is we go to the Manage tab and we're going to go to the Configure button here. You can also type at the command line, standards. So that will bring up this window. And if we click on configure here, that will run that same command. So when we click on configure, it's actually running a command called standards. So we're just presented by the default window here. In the middle of this window, we've got a plus button, and that's to add a standards file to this current drawing. By adding a standards file to the current drawing, it means that it's going to try and create layers, and it'll try and make our drawing conform to the standards file. So I'll just click on Add Standards File, and I'll locate that standard.dws that I created a few moments ago when I did the Save As. So I'll click on Open, and it just tells us that the current standards file is here, and the description, and you know, what drawing format and all that sort of stuff. We can delete the entry here, and we can add additional standards files if we so desire. The next tab, when we click on here, we can actually choose which styles to be matched to this standards file. So you might have multiple standards files. You know, this one might only contain layers. You might have another one that has multi-leaders and line types or something like that. And you might have another one that controls your text styles. In this situation, my standard DWS file will be controlling my dimension styles, my layers, my line types, my multi-leader styles, and my text styles. There will be occasions where you don't want it to modify some of these entries, and to do that, you just uncheck the entry that you need. So I've now associated this standards file with this drawing. I could go ahead and I could click on Check Standards, and that will go through and it will check my current drawing against the associated DWS file or drawing standards file. But prior to doing that, we're just going to have a look at the settings on this panel here. So we'll just click on Settings, and you'll see here that we have basically our notification settings and what's going to happen when we encounter an issue with our standards. So under the notification settings, I'm sure that during time when you guys have been drafting, you've come up with a standards violation notice down here that there's, a drawing has come from someone else or has been created and you don't have a DWS file it's associated with. So you get the drawing standards violation message coming up. This is where that's controlled. If you were to come in here and to click on Disable Standards Notifications, you would never be told about the issues with your standards. And it would be up to you to run the standards checking by yourself, running it as a manual task. I wouldn't recommend that. If we are trying to enforce standards in our drawings, so we'll just display. We could also display an alert upon a standards violation. So we might change a layer definition or something, and that will display a violation. So if you don't want any of those notifications, and you're not using CAD standards, you can just disable those notifications. So that'll come through with any drawing that you open. Oh, sorry, with this drawing. If when the standards is run, whether it's automatic or not, you can get it to automatically fix non-standard properties, or and you can get it to show ignored problems. I would suggest, until you get to know how the Standards Manager works, I would leave automatically fix non-standard properties unchecked, and you'll be resolving those yourself. And it's asking here, the preferred standards file to use for replacements. When I come out of this window, sorry, I'll close this. I'll go OK. I'll just press Enter again. I'll come back up into settings. That file will now be listed. If there's only been, if you've only used, if this is the first time you've used the command, there'll be no default one set in there. So you need to close the command and reopen to be able to set the default DWS file. So if you have multiple DWS files associated here, with this one set, it will go to the standard definition first and work through the plugins that are associated with that one. And then it will work through to the next one in the list and then sequentially go through each of the standards files that you have in here to check your standards. So I'm just going to click OK here. And I'm just going to change my view once again to the vertical tiling. So I'll get our standards over on the right-hand side and our drawing on the right-hand side. That should work, I think. Okay, so I'll just move that across and that across a little, and I'll bring up the Layer Manager. Okay. So actually, I should have gone the other way just to keep it on the same side as it was before. Apologies for that. Tile vertically, that'll do. So we've got our incorrect layers on this side, and this is what we're getting it to convert to. This is only for representation on the left-hand side, so just ignore it for the moment. It's just to show you what's going on. So I'm just going to go back to the Manage tab, and I'm going to go back to the Standards panel, and I'm going to click on Check. Sorry, I set this one current, cancel, set this one current, check. And you'll see now that I have a layer in here, and it's stating that that layer plan 1 is non-standard. So I come through here and I'll see if there's an entry for plan 1. So I'm going to transfer or translate this layer from plan 1 to the name A plan 1. So if I click on Fix, that will change that layer in my drawing. So next one is wall. There's a wall layer in here. I can click on Fix, and that layer will change to a wall and the definition that's stated in the standards file. You might come across something like jam. We want to leave that as it is, no changes at all on it. Mark this problem as ignored. It's stated that it's ignored by my initials. If we go next, when we run the standards check once more, it will ignore that layer. Okay, so we'll keep going through. Casework, sorry, door will become door. We'll go fix, ceiling becomes ceiling. Jam will become jam. So we can go through and we can match these layers. So if we go fix, I'll leave these other ones as they are. And I'm just going to click on close. It's not finished checking, but I'm just going to close that just to show you what's going on with our layers at the moment. So our DWS file has the layers like this. Our drawing file now has gone through and it's changed the layer names from casework to a casework. And if I had have shown this over here, we would have seen these change also to the colors, or they should have changed to the colors that are applicable. So we didn't do floor pat, so we'll just go in and we'll click on check once more. I'm just going to go floor pat. Sorry, fixture becomes fixture. So I'll fix that one. Rail becomes a rail. Fix floor pattern becomes a floor pat. And now I'll close once more. And you'll see that we've got the same colors coming through for both here. If I should have actually minimized that before. So we should have the same colors for the same layers be it in our existing drawing. So this is our updated drawing, or the drawing that we've been working that has different settings. And over here, we've got dimension. You'll see in here, dimension, we didn't click on dimension before. So we've got a different definition in here. So I'm just going to go and I'm going to click on check once more. We've got dimension is highlighted here, and it states here the difference between the two. We want to fix that, close, and then that's fixed that dimension definition in here. Hold on, which go. So it's changed the color to white as it should have. Okay, are there any questions, Jonathan?
No.
No, okay. All right, so yeah, that's basically if you've got different drawing formats coming from different people, or someone's gone home and they've tried to draw and they've created a new layer or something like that. We've now got a drawing. We've got a drawing standards associated with this drawing. So now, when I go to the layer command, say, and I go to create a new layer, it's assuming it's layer 1. This is a new layer. Press enter and it tells me that there's a standards violation. This layer doesn't exist in my drawing, in my DWS file. So we run check standards violation. So this layer is a new layer, and we might find that we've actually put it in and it should be a wall or something like that. However, I've put this layer name in deliberately. So I'm going to click on this and I'm going to mark this problem as ignored. So click on next, and I won't be prompted about that layer being an incorrect layer again. Click on close, and now I can use that layer. I can put whatever I want on that layer, set it current, do whatever I want, and be able to draw in it. And it won't show up in the layer standard violation again. If I was to go, I'll open the DWS file. Again, so this is the DWS that's opening, so it's standard.dws. I'm just going to make a couple of layers in here. I'll just go new, and I'll just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All I did there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll just change the colors of each of those layers. And we're in a DWS file, as you recall. That'll probably do with the changes I need to make. So I'll save that DWS file. So I'll just close that as it is. So it's a DWS. Save and overwrite. Okay, so that DWS file has been modified. In here, I'm not sure if I need to close and reopen the standard file. So I'll just close it just to reassociate the sorry, I need standard. Was it standard? Hold on. No, it was this one we were looking at. So now we've got that standards file associated. It's got those additional layers. So I'm going to create a layer in here, and I'm going to call it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if you recall in the previous in the DWS, I only went up to layer 5. So this is the new layer. It's been marked as ignored. Go next. Layer 7, we don't have a layer 7, so we'll mark that one as ignored. We've got a layer 2, we'll match that. So you see it's got layer 2, and it has layer 2 in our DWS file. So it's put a check mark next to that by default. So all we need to do is click on fix there. We've got layer 3. And layer 3 exists in our DWS file. So we click on fix again. Same with 5. 6 doesn't exist. So we'll assume that's going to be a new layer. So we just go next. And then it gives you the balance of what's it's done. And then we can just click on close. And if we have a look in here, we'll see that our layers have now changed color according to what it was in the DWS file. Okay, so you can go into the DWS file and add additional layers or dimension styles or any of that sort of thing. I've only been showing you the layers today because it's quite obvious what's happening with the layers. I've ignored your dimension styles and multi-leader styles and things like that. However, you are able to check those as well. Just for convenience today, that's pretty much all I've gone through is layers. Okay, so that's our drawing standards. The next one that we'll look at is the Layer Translator. So it's pretty much the same thing as what we've done now. So I'm just going to close some of the drawings and I'm just going to open a couple more files. These ones are actually the same files, but they're just copies of them before I made any changes to them. So I'm just going to open these two files here.
Selwyn.
Yes.
Just had a question come in asking whether or not this will work where we have multiple similar layers. For example, stage one, I suppose if you've got layers that begin with, say, stage 1 lip, stage 2 lip, stage 3 lip, does each one of those layers technically have to be part of the standards file for it to be able to pick it up? There's no kind of
they would,
like
or
asterisk or prefix that you can put in there to say, oh, ignore this first wedge.
No, it will go through the whole thing, but you can actually change your settings, in here. The easiest way may be to go into settings, turn off the alert and run it, run it individually, ignore the alerts that come up and run a check at the end or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or go through and ignore the ones that won't be added. Or another option is to actually bring up the, what's it called? I've just gone blank. It'll be on view. It's
DWG.
No. It's the thing where you can drag blocks out of drawings and layers out of drawings. Design Center.
Design Center. Yes. Yeah. With you now.
I had a blank there. Sorry. Design Center. We've created new layers in our current drawing. Those layers are correct. You've got your stage 2 layers or stage 1 layers or whatever it may be. You could actually come in here, open up your DWS file and open the DWS in here, open your drawing that has those additional layers in the Design Center and drag those additional layers into the DWS file, save the DWS file, and those additional layers will be in the DWS file for when you're checking your drawing going forth.
I'd agree. I think that's the best way forward.
I think it's probably the easiest way is, just Design Center is probably your friend in this situation, I suspect.
And look, at the end of the day, there's nothing to stop you in your DWT file having, a whole range of layers already set up for different stages, I suppose, assuming that you may or may not get to stage 5 or 6 or whatever. But and then having those dropped into the DWS, meaning that they're kind of accounted for, even if you don't end up using them at the end of the day. You don't use every single layer in the DWS, do you? It's not like
you don't.
Go, we're going to use every single one of these. It's a case of here's pretty much 100% of every type of layer we'd ever create in one single area. Yes, there's going to be additional ones that get created on the side, like you ignored earlier. But
because there are exceptions.
Yes.
Sorry, Jonathan.
No. Well, it's good. I think hopefully we've answered that question for Rodney. So it's a good question. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Are there any other questions before we go forth?
No.
Okay. All right. So the next step that we're going to look at is the Layer Translator. This is quite handy. You received a drawing from a client, say a surveyor, and maybe you're civil engineers or something like that. You've received a survey drawing, and that survey drawing always comes in with the same layers, or a client always uses the same layers, same as what you try to do with your CAD standards. They attempt to use the same standards. So if we have a client and they're providing drawings to you, we can actually set up the Layer Translator for your current drawing, and we were able to map layer to layer. So, this is the information in my current drawing. Actually, I'll go to the other, might be easier going opposite way. I'll get out of this one. I'll go Layer Translator on this one. So we have our layers here. I need to be able to load a file that has the correct layers in here. So, I click on Load, and we choose a file. The one I have here is drafting, so I'll just choose Standard. So, it'll go through. We have the option here of Map Same. So it'll go through, and any of the layers that have the same name, they will be mapped to be the same name layer, the same name, and removed out of the entry up here on the left-hand side. But from here, we can go here, click here. The first entry up here is that. Click on Map, and that will map casework to a casework. Next one is Ceiling. Click on Ceiling, Map. Door is the next one here. A door, Map. Fixture, a fixture, map. PLR floor becomes, that one. Jam becomes a jam. Plan one becomes a plan one. Pole becomes pole, a pole. Rail becomes rail. And, wall becomes wall. Or, you can merge the different layers in together. But when we do this, we just click on Translate, translate and save mapping information. And it will actually save a DWS file. And you could name that one your client name, or, your server, I'll just call it client one. So when you receive another drawing from the same client, you can associate that same DWS file with the drawing, and you'll be able to get that translation to happen without actually having to do the map situation. You'll just, it'll come up, it'll have them all mapped where they can map. And if there are any additional ones, they will show up, and you'll be able to include those in the translation. So we would save. I'll just put that on my desktop just so I know where that is. So that actually creates a drawing standards file for a client provided drawing. So that's very handy. You can go both ways. You can transfer, the drawing standards, set up one to go both ways, whether you need to transfer yours across to what the client wants, or if you want to translate the client information into your format. Okay. Any questions, Jonathan?
No, just confirmation that anybody might be thinking, I know we've had one question on it, but this is not available in AutoCAD LT. So the DWS.
Oh, sorry. Yep.
Go on. No,
yep, I didn't think of that. It's available in any of the verticals for AutoCAD, but not LT. No. BricsCAD has a similar functionality in it. So if you happen to be using BricsCAD, you'll have the similar ability in there. Different interface, which is normal with BricsCAD, but you do have that same ability in there. And if you are using, some of your office is using BricsCAD, that same standards file is able to be used in BricsCAD. So the files are interchangeable between both systems. So that's always handy, if some people are using BricsCAD and AutoCAD in the office. So the files are compatible across.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So the next one, we've got a project that's come in from multiple sources or whatever, and we need to find out what the issues may be with multiple drawings. These tools here are fine with individual drawings, but we do have, with AutoCAD, when it's been released previously, if I click on all apps up here, and we have a look at the AutoCADs I have installed, you'll see that there is a batch standards checker for each of the AutoCADs that you have installed. So this is my 2022 batch standards checker, and I'm running 2022 at the moment. So I'm just going to click on this application. If you're running 21, run the one that's in the folder for the application that you have installed or that you are running. You won't find it in Architecture or Map or any of those. It will be in the AutoCAD version. The AutoCAD app group or whatever it's called. So if you've installed Civil 3D, there'll be an AutoCAD folder. If you've installed Map, there'll be an AutoCAD folder. So it'll always be located in the AutoCAD one. So I'm just going to click on, I'll just go to AutoCAD 2022, and I'm going to click on Batch Standards Checker. This is a separate application to AutoCAD, so I don't need AutoCAD running at the moment. So, this is a separate item. I'll just bring that up. The white's a bit bright in my face here at the moment. So what I've on my PC, I have a folder and it has a DWS file in it, and I've got multiple files I want to check with. So I've created this DWS, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to associate this DWS with some drawings. So the standards file to start with, I'm going to add a standards file. By default, if I've been using standards when I've been drafting, we would just leave it at check each drawing using its associated standards file, because that standards file should be associated already. However, I know with these drawings, they're quite a few years old. They're just ones that I've had hanging around for a while. So I'm going to check all drawings using the following standards file. So I'm going to apply that standards file that I have just chosen or just showed you a moment ago, and that's what it's called. And it gives me the details of what that is, which is pretty relevant for what I want. We can tell it what we want it to go through and check. I'll just leave everything on at the moment. We may want to put some notes in the report that is generated. Please beware, when we run this batch standards checker, it will not modify your drawings. It will generate a report, and then you'll be able to open each of the drawings and run the standards check and do the modifications to the drawing. So this will provide a report stating the drawings that have issues and the drawings that you would need to open and run the batch standards on. Okay, we have a progress here. That'll become active when we start running the command, but we need to add the drawings to be checked. So I'm just going to click on the plus button here. I've got a shortcut into the folder where my drawings are kept. So I'm just going to go in here, and I'm just going to choose just a couple of files in here. Just three. Oh, sorry, I'll just choose 3 files. They're all fairly basic. Click on open. So I've got my 3 files. There's external references in these files. So yeah, I want the external references checked also. So now we've got our settings made here. What we need to do now is we need to save our settings, and that becomes a CHX file. You see, I've created one previously. I'm just going to overwrite that one. And now we'll click on the Run Standards or Start Check or Alt-T. So I'll click on this button, changes to progress, and it will come through and it tells us what we've gone through and any issues that we've come across. And the output that we get is presented in this format here. So this is the output that has just come from the audit that I've just run. So I've run the audit on 3 drawings. There's an XREF in each of them, which is called CTB4, and it can't find that file. So that's handy to know. We've got problems in each of these drawings based on that DST file, the DWS file that was listed. It's listing the drawings that were audited. It's telling us what plugins are used. It's telling us what standards file is used. It's telling us how the dimension styles and what the dimension styles in our drawing standards file are set. So these are the settings for our standard settings and the different dimension styles in that DWS file. We'll keep going down, and then it's going through the layers. And we keep going. And what I was looking for was this entry over here on the left. It's about halfway down your page, which is a bit of a pain in the butt. But, we've got the options here. We can just click here and we've got overview. If we click on plugins, it will show us which plugins have been used. If we click on standards, it will show us what standards are in use for the DWS file. We'll now have to go back down to the center here roughly. I'll click on problems. And now it will tell us what the issue is with each of the drawings. So my first drawing here, this drawing here has an issue with a dimension style. The name is non-standard. This one's standard, but it's got a couple of issues with settings and things like that. So it's actually telling you what the expected value is. sorry, what the expected value is your standard value and what your current value is. So you can determine whether you need to run this drawing through the standards checker in AutoCAD, running the check command, opening it and running check in here. Sorry, I'll just bring that one. Whether you need to run it or not, because you would be aware of the different styles and if that will cause any issue with your drawing. We can display individual drawings if we want. We can click on ignored problems, no ignored problems, and we can click on all, and that will show everything once again. We still have to go back down to halfway down, but you're able to see, hold on, where is that thing on the left? Okay, we'll just make that one drawing and we'll click on problems. So, your decision with this, this drawing here, I'd go through, I'd have a look at these. My meter settings, I'd probably need to sort out my dimension style. I'd probably run it through and get that one to update. And I'd go through and I'd choose whether I need to run, the whole audit or just layers or text or whatever it may be on each of the drawings. So there would be manual work after you've run the batch standards checker, but that will go through a whole series of drawings for you and it creates a report for you and you're able to go through and run the check. So that's pretty much our standards 101 for today. So the batch standards, if you're running it for multiple, you want to check multiple drawings, someone's, Fred from out on sites created 5 or 6 drawings, they've come in, he's a fairly good drafter, but, it doesn't hurt to run it through just to check that the layers are right, the dimension styles are right and different things. So, yeah, I think that's about it for me, Jonathan.
Well, I think it's great. I think for those that started out as life working under a CAD manager who ruled with an iron fist, I think if there was a layer that was slightly the wrong color, or maybe there was a dimension that the arrowhead was slightly too small, he would spot that. And I think he could have done with a stamp that literally said drawing violation, and he would have stamped the drawing and given it back to me. He would have loved this tool. Absolutely loved it. He would have just gone with the batch, loaded them up, fired them through, and then handed me the report and said, go forth and fix it. Yes, go forth.
Yeah, me being an ex-CAD manager, that was exactly what I would do to you. This is a fantastic tool once you get your head around it.
Yeah. And I suppose also the fact that you can load the DWS into a DWT means that it's all kind of there.
You can have that link.
Yeah, that link. And
enforced link, yes.
For every single project that you start. So,
yeah.
And at the end of the day, hopefully, most people have got the, like you say, we're all working remotely. So a lot of people end up kind of doing their own thing, maybe creating their own layers, using their own colors, even, end up with the wrong CTB files being used, etc. But at the end of the day, this is a good way of getting you at least started, or getting every user started and set up in the right place and have a continual check. So you're not checking 50 different things on every single job. Hopefully it's just a few pieces, isn't it, on every single.
Yeah, and the consistency that can come through something like this is quite amazing. You might have 20 or 30 people working on the same project, and all your drawings coming together. We've only got 1 or 2 issues with drawings. Run it through the batch checker, you'll get that list of drawings that have got issues, and you only have to deal with those ones. Hopefully, maybe 1 or 2 out of 70 or 80 drawings. It can be a real boon for getting things presentable, and consistent.
Well, particularly with new people starting as well. You get new people starting, and unless you've got the your user guide for layers and everything within your particular organization, this is actually a real help for anybody that's starting out. They'll have the template. Yes, the layers will be there, but if they want to go ahead and begin to sort of go off that path a little bit, then this is a way of just sort of reining them back in a fraction. But
yeah, there is freedom in there. As you saw, you can skip issues or ignore issues, but when you go through and do a manual check on it, you can actually go through and those ones that have been missed, you have that choice again to actually update them to something if you need to.
Yeah.
So, someone's gone through and we're not worried about it at home, but it's come back into the office and we need to modify that. So you can actually go through and you can do a fix on all your layers, right, including the ones that have been ignored.
Marvelous. Well, look, thanks, folks. If you've got any other questions, we did have one question actually asking whether or not you could use the the client DWS file that you created. But in a way, it's no different to. I mean, if you want to, you're more than welcome just to show how that could have been applied. But I suppose it's no different to it, you applying it.
It's the same.
Like the other DWS files.
The same with so I could open a. I'm not sure what's in. I know I can't find that one. I'll just go back to one of these drawings.
No problem.
I'm not sure if this has got a. So I'll just go plus. I think I saved it to my desktop.
Glad you remember that. Oh, you did. Yep. Cool.
Yep. So click on open. I'm not sure what the standards are in here, but go in here. I've associated it with this drawing. Check standards. And I've only really got layer 0 that's got an issue.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, there's actually nothing with an issue. It's clean. So yeah, my drawing confirm. This is been converted from a drawing. So yeah, I've just. Okay, we've gone next now. Okay, plan 1, next. It's matching them up. And really, because it's found those layers, same layers as what the surveyor would have been using, it's fixed. It's done.
Yeah, great. There you go.
Not a particularly good example. You really need real data to see how it's working.
Mm-hmm.
I just had to get a drawing that was easy enough to be able to see, the layers and the consistent group of layers and things. So yeah.
If somebody wanted to just give this a go, is it worth them taking their template file, your company template, your DWT file, saving it as a DWS, and then running it on a job? Would that be just as a quick test?
You could. Sorry, you can. So I'm just going to open. I'm going to change the type to DWG. No, sorry, to DWT template. DWT. I'll open. I'm not sure if these ones have layers in them. So I'm just going to open this one. I'm not sure what's in here. So I'm just going to bring up the layer command. So it's got layers in here. So we can do a save as on this. I'll change the style to DWS. I'll save it to the same location. I'll give it the same name. I'll reopen the DWT. I thought it would have shown up in here.
Yep, there it is. That's the DWS.
Oh, that one there. Yeah, there's the DWT. Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yep, I went blank there. So, configure, add, go back to that. Oh, that's my issue. I've got to find that folder. I'll just
save we all know how. Yeah.
And no, hold on. I'll go options.
It's always the fun part, trying to get to that particular path, isn't it?
Yes. Template file.
There we go.
Location.
Yep.
So I'll click on that, click again, Control C, just to copy that one. So I'll come back into configure, click on the add, Control V to take me into that same folder, select that DWS, and that's associated with this drawing now. And when we run our check, we should have no issues because it's actually based upon this drawing.
Yeah.
Okay. So we save that DWT. I'll save it. I don't use this template at all, so I'm not concerned about overwriting it. But when I create a new drawing based on that that template, that the DWS file will be associated with the drawing when you create the new drawing. So I'll go new, hold on, new based on, it was MArc, wasn't it?
Down one.
That one?
Yep.
So I'll just go layer, new 5, enter.
There you go.
So I've just created a new layer and it's run. So layer 5 is a non-standard layer. Okay. Does that answer what you're after?
Well, that was my question. Yeah, essentially just a quick way of just giving this a run, because you as you can see here, if you've got a good template to start off with, you've got a basis of a DWS file there right there. So
yeah,
we have had another question come in. Not so much of a question, more of a comment, but I might have to just reread this. Through a handy way to get to that template folder is to change the type to DWT. Oh, that's a very good, yes, very good. Yeah, so a little tip there. If you did want to jump to that folder where you pick DWS, just change that to DWT and it automatically jumps you straight to that plate. There you go. So
it does too. Yeah, but
yeah, I'd forgotten that.
But then, yeah.
If you go DWS now, will it then automatically stay in that location?
It'll stay in that location.
There you go. Oh, perfect.
Okay. Thank you, whoever that was.
That was Andrew Puller.
Cheers, Andrew.
Drops in with these little nuggets of gold.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. Marvelous. Well, look, I think we will end the session there. I will. We've had a good number of questions. Just while we're finishing off, I'm just going to share my screen, which is just to sort of summarize what's coming up, which is not a lot for the rest of this month, because we're pretty much at the end. Let's just screen 2. Can you see my screen?
I can. Selwyn? Yep.
Fantastic. So look, at the moment, due to everything around COVID, all our schedule is a little bit up in the air with regards to who's presenting what and when. So at the moment, we're literally working off week by week. Next week, I'll be presenting a curb build out webinar with civil site design and possibly implementing a raised pedestrian crossing on that particular webinar as well, using tools within a software. Other than that, we're not scheduling any other webinars too far ahead, just because, as I said, different people not being available for training and whatnot, and resource availability with everything hopefully beginning to come back to normal. But if you are interested, have a look at our YouTube channel for this recording. YouTube, just type in Civil Service Solutions, and you can also subscribe to that particular channel. You will get, at the end of this webinar, your browser should pop up and you will get a quick survey. That also has a webcast suggestion box on it. So if there's any webinars that you'd like to see about any of the products and platforms that we support, please put something in. Selwyn, I think you had a few ideas for a future AutoCAD webinar. Off the top of my head, I can't remember what they were.
I can't remember either, but any suggestions would be fantastic, because I'm starting to run a bit dry on suggestions.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Look, that survey pops up. Please just pop something in if you've got any ideas.
I've thought about recording macros and the CUI, that sort of customization side of things. But if guys want to head down customization side, let me know.
Yeah.
If you want drafting, any suggestion is brilliant and appreciated.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's great. And thanks, Selwyn, for today. Really great session. We've had a couple of people
Thank you.
Say it was great. So yeah, thanks for your attendance today. We hope you stay safe and well, and we look forward to seeing as many of you at the next webinar. Thanks ever so much. Cheers, Selwyn.
Thank you, everyone.